let's talk about ads, okay? So OpenAI said this week it's continuing its rollout for ads. It's across certain accounts. Some of the accounts won't see the ads. What are your initial reactions from people you're talking to about the ads they're seeing and also how brands are feeling about how the rollout is even going?
Yeah, so the first ads, OpenAI said went live yesterday. And so the ads will be shown to, you have to be a logged in user in the US, but they'll be shown to users that are logged in that are either on free plans or on OpenAI's new Go subscription tier, which is $8 a month in the US. So it's a little bit lower priced than kind of the full subscription. But OpenAI did also say yesterday that if you're a free user, you can opt out of seeing ads in exchange for fewer messages and a lower rate limit. So that's kind of an interesting wrinkle there. But yeah, I think most people that I'm talking to are still waiting to see how this will all play out. OpenAI is starting with a relatively small pool of advertisers, and most of the ads, or all, the ads that they're starting with, we've reported are all going to be mostly just kind of general brand awareness ads. OpenAI is charging advertisers per view, not per click, which is different than most other large ad businesses. So OpenAI has been pretty adamant that this is an early test. They're going to, see what happens and see what the reaction is like. But certainly their need for revenue is growing by the day. And so it will be interesting to see, both how users react to the ads and then also, the demand from brands as well.
I like that they doubled down on the Monday after the Super Bowl. We obviously saw that Anthropic came out with a fiery campaign that very much silently said that, hey, OpenAI is doing ads, we're not doing ads. And Monday morning, we had this blog post from OpenAI saying, you know what, we're doing it and we're going hard at it. And I didn't know the piece though that you mentioned about the fact that users can opt out for a trade off there, and so that is certainly interesting. Let's talk about the next step after ads. So, shopping is something that you've done a lot of reporting on. We've talked about how payments is so important in shopping. Your new story out today talks about how taxes makes all this even more difficult. What did you find?
Yeah, I mean, so like you mentioned, I've done a lot of reporting around kind of the data wrangling that OpenAI has had to do with merchants in order to help them, get set up to sell their products through the checkout feature in Chat GPT. And so I think the payments and the tax work, and those questions that they're thinking about right now are kind of another leg of that, getting into retail and running this thing that's almost like an online marketplace. There's a lot of kind of back end work that goes into that. And so kind of the main thing that OpenAI teams working on commerce are working through right now is what is their responsibility going to be in terms of sales taxes. It's an important piece of any online marketplace. Their Amazon, very famously in the early and mid 2010s, went through kind of this whole saga about whether or not they were responsible for collecting and remitting the sales taxes on behalf of the merchants selling on their platform. And ultimately, they were, found to be responsible, even though their argument was kind of just like, oh, we're only connecting buyers and sellers. We're not taking an active role in the transaction. But most of the state legislatures under their laws, found that Amazon was responsible as kind of a part of this transaction, for facilitating, tax payments. So it's just kind of it's another thing that OpenAI has to sort out in order to really scale up this shopping feature. And so it,
And the other part too that I found interesting is that I guess it's not just who has to collect the taxes, but then it's also trying to figure out, well, where is the what state is the person in when they make the purchase, which sales tax rules apply. I mean, that seems to be
Right.
another intricate thing in all this.
Yeah, I spoke to a couple tax experts for this story, and kind of the main takeaway there was that the laws are all slightly different state to state. They change depending on what kind of a product you're buying, what time of year it is, whether or not there's a tax holiday. So, sorting all this out is quite complicated, and there's a reason why most other marketplaces like Amazon, have taken steps to kind of sort this out on behalf of merchants, and then also the legal responsibility that they have to pay taxes.
Now,
And
what about? I'm trying to think of the payment processors like Stripe that have a role in all of this. I mean, do they not end up carrying some of the burden here?
They do, but kind of the key distinction in a lot of these laws, they often kind of focus in on how much control an app or a payment processor has over collecting payments. And so a lot of the laws are written with this phrase, either collecting payments directly or indirectly. So you could make an argument that even though OpenAI, isn't directly touching the transaction, they still are indirectly facilitating payments, and so therefore, under these tax laws, they would be responsible. So, yes, OpenAI is working mainly with Stripe, but also is laying the groundwork to potentially work with other payment processors down the line. I touch on that in my story today a bit as well. And so, especially as OpenAI kind of lays the groundwork to work with a broader range of payments processors, I think that question of how much are they involved in the transaction, how much are they involved in payments specifically, I think that makes the tax question, all the more pressing for them.
And I guess big picture, and here, I mean, the reason that this really, I guess, matters, to the shopping story at large is I imagine, as we look to the executives that OpenAI will have to bring on to help them sort through this. I mean, I imagine this is going to be a big hiring push for them, and I'm trying to think about the people that they might seek to poach from Shopify or Amazon, et cetera. I mean, this, these are very specific skill sets that I think they're probably going to need from these larger companies.
Sure. I mean, yeah, it definitely means that they will have to think, about what their needs are in terms of people that know compliance, that know taxes, and so I think kind of this vision that maybe they started with of being this assistant layer that just sits on top of existing marketplaces, existing retailers. There's a lot more back end work that goes into e-commerce, no matter what kind of role you play. So, yes, I think you'll certainly see OpenAI invest in staffing up those teams even more going forward.
Great. Well, Anne, I want to thank you for coming on. That is Anne Guillen, our e-commerce reporter and our resident tax expert for the day here at The Information.